Hi guys, how are you doing? This is from techcentury, and this is my direct comparison between two of the hottest tablets right now. On the one side, the Apple iPad mini, and on the other side, the ASUS manufactured Google Nexus 7. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the weaknesses and strengths of both tablets to find out which is the best choice for you. So here we have both tablets. On the left side the iPad mini, as you obviously see, and on the right side the Nexus 7. When we start to talk about the price first, the iPad mini, this is the 16GB configuration and Wi-Fi only, and this retails for $330 and also euros here in Europe. And then the Nexus 7, this is the 32GB version with 3G connectivity, retails for $299 and euros. So you get 16GB more storage and also 3G on the Nexus 7 and still pay less than the Apple iPad mini. I don't even want to start talking about the smart cover, that's a different story. But if it comes to price, definitely the Nexus 7 is a way better value, especially since it also starts at $199 or euros for 16GB of storage and a Wi-Fi only configuration. Besides that, if we first talk about the hardware, because this is one of the main differences, is that we see a 7-inch display right here, which has a higher pixel density and also a higher resolution than the 7.8-inch display that we find on the iPad mini. So you have a bigger screen on the iPad mini, but a better resolution and PPI on the Nexus 7. Now, I don't want to bore you too much with specs, because to me what matters most is the real-world performance and also experience. So if you take the Nexus 7 in your hand, first of all, you notice that it feels great in the hand because it really has rounded corners, as you see right there, and also this really nice textured back, which is kind of leather-like, as some people described it. I wouldn't really go that far, but definitely feels nice in your hand. And it also feels great from the angles right here, so there aren't any sharp corners or anything like that. So that's definitely nice. But that being said, while this does feel good in the hand, no doubt about it, and if you don't have any other tablet to compare it with, I would say the Nexus 7 feels great. Now, the second that you actually see or even touch the iPad mini the first time, you directly see that this is like a completely different story, because if I take the smart cover off here to get it out of the way, then this is just a completely different level of build quality. I mean, it's completely made of aluminum on the back with this black anodized finish. And while this is pretty much attracting fingerprints like nothing else, well, actually it's not too bad at the moment, this is just a completely different story when it comes to build quality. And so, as Joshua Topolsky from The Verge said in it first hands-on with the Apple iPad mini, if you take on or in your hand the Nexus 7 afterwards, the Nexus 7 kind of feels like a toy. And while this might be a little bit too much, that's being said, that's generally how I also feel. I mean, this just feels like a high quality product on the iPad mini, and definitely a lot more premium. And the Nexus 7, while it doesn't feel better or anything, don't get me wrong, it just feels a lot cheaper and kind of like a toy, because, for example, the silver bezel right here looks nice, but it's also only painted plastic. So it depends on what you want. If you want to have a solid tablet for a great price, with amazing specs, also a quad-core processor in here, a dual-core processor on the iPad mini, then the Nexus 7 is probably the best choice for you. Now, that's out of the way. We also see that we'll have a 5-megapixel camera on the rear of the iPad mini. Honestly, not a big feature for me, because I've never really used it. I think I tried it once and that was pretty much it, and I never used it again. So the camera isn't really a selling point, because this is also missing on the Nexus 7. I don't think it's a big loss or something that you should worry about, because you'll look stupid taking a picture with either one of those tablets in public. So the front-facing camera that you'll find here on the Nexus 7 is definitely decent enough. You'll also have a front-facing camera on the iPad mini. Now, as I mentioned before, this has a Tegra 3 quad-core processor in the Nexus 7, and there's only an old A5 dual-core processor in the iPad mini. Now, you would probably think that the Nexus 7 completely outperforms in every aspect the iPad mini. That's not the truth. The iPad mini holds up really well. Overall, I think it's a very, very similar performance. And this actually says more about the iPad mini, that it still performs well even with an old dual-core processor. than compared to a quad-core processor that you'll find in the Nexus 7. So I'm not going to do benchmarks here, but overall, the Nexus 7, don't get me wrong, it's not a slouch, it feels great, it's really responsive, and especially with the Project Butter, this is just a great experience of Android, and this is honestly Android how I want it to be, because it just feels great, and it's really snappy, multitasking is great, I don't really have a lot open right now, but still, even with a lot of tasks running, it's not an issue at all, and this is how Android was ever supposed to be, and this is now at a stage where I can say, I can switch to Android without any doubt and still have a great user experience. And so the iPad mini, or just iOS in general, hasn't really improved or evolved or whatever you want to say. It's still pretty much the same old stuff. And while the App Store for iOS is still, at least in my opinion, a lot better than you'll find in the Play Store, especially if it comes to tablet apps, it's still rather restricted on Android. But I think with tablets like the Nexus 7, the Nexus 10 and so on that bring great hardware for a great price, this will definitely improve. And if you take a look at some good apps that are well designed on both platforms, I hope I have installed Pocket right here. No, I haven't yet. But for example, if you take a look at Pocket, this is really where the Nexus 7 shines. If you have apps that look good on it, then it's a fantastic tablet, no doubt. Tablet selection, as I said, still lacking, but I think it's getting there, and I'm really looking forward to how Android will evolve. If we look at scrolling, especially in apps like Falcon Pro, it's definitely decent. It's nowhere near as good as you'd probably find it on an iPad or iPhone, and I think Android still has a long way to go there. But again, I'm kind of hoping for better apps and also better app optimization on the Android side. That being said, I think Android is just taking an absolutely right direction. I'm really looking forward to every step that Android is taking in the future. Now, one of the features that was pretty much ripped off in the end by Apple was definitely here, Notification Center. That being said, if you swipe down left here, there are notifications. I don't have any notifications at the moment. And then in Android 4.2, if you swipe down here, then you'll actually have my avatar right here, because you'll have multi-user support. What that basically means is that I can just tap on my name, then it will go out to the lock screen, and you also have the lock screen widgets right here, which I honestly never really use. I think at the point where they currently are, they're pretty much pointless. And there's also the account from my girlfriend. As you see, the background image will change, and also the app settings and everything will change. So that's an awesome feature that I really wish that iOS would incorporate at some point, but I don't think they will. I think Apple's strategy is that if you want to have multi-user support, you should buy 2 iPads instead of just sharing one. That being said, one of the highlight features for me, at least in Android 4.2, is definitely the keyboard. I mean, this is probably one of the best, if not the best keyboards that I've ever used. I mean, it really makes the keyboard on iOS feel old. You just have to type as you usually would. Nothing bad about that, and I think it's really spacious, and you can definitely comfortably type on there. But if I just write something and here's something random, then you can just use this new swipe-like feature, and this seriously is just absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't even type anything anymore. I'm just swiping across the screen. It's really fast, it's really fluid, and overall a great experience. Google Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of, and I'm not really using it too much, but nonetheless, it's also a nice feature. And I just have to say that this keyboard, the multi-user support, is just absolutely great. App selection, as I mentioned before, they're just way more optimized apps on the iPad mini, even though one thing that I find is that you kind of realize that this is or has the same resolution and layout as the original iPad, and some of the buttons just feel pretty small because of that. So for example, here the installation button and also these are ratings and so on feels really small, so you really have to look where you have to put your finger, because otherwise it won't recognize it. And Jelly Bean overall does a pretty good job of resembling that and also feeling optimized for the tablet itself. Now if the apps are coming, then man, Android is really up to a great start. So to wrap it kind of up, it's just an awesome, it's a great user experience here on the Nexus 7. There's some notifications popping in right there. And besides that, I can just say the Nexus 7 is an awesome purchase. If you're thinking about getting it, I can't say anything bad about it. It has a great performance. The keyboard is awesome. Android 4.2 in general is the way I always imagined or wished that Android would be, and so it's absolutely amazing. For the price, it's definitely the best tablet that you can get out there. I wouldn't even look at other tablets. You'll always get the latest updates with this Nexus device, which is also one of the biggest points why I bought this, because I don't want to wait for updates. And then again, if you're already living in the iOS universe for things like photo stream and that stuff, then probably the iPad mini is the best choice for you. And if you're looking for like the highest build quality, then there's no way to get around the iPad mini. But as you see right here, it's really, really limited when it comes to customization. I mean, you can't even like put an app somewhere else, I mean, and then just have, for example, I just wanted to have this Apple free right here, and it doesn't work because once you put an app away, it goes another one there. So just basic things. I don't even really need widgets like that you see right here, but still would be nice. So as I said, if you want to have the highest build quality, then definitely, and the best design, I assume, then you should probably choose the iPad mini if you have the extra cash. If you're just looking for a great tablet overall, then just choose the Nexus 7 because it is a great deal overall. And then this also wraps up the video. So if you want to see some gaming footage of the iPad mini, I already have that on the channel, as well as my full review of the iPad mini. My full review of the Nexus 7 is coming up. If you want to see gaming demo, then I'll definitely make sure to do that. Just leave your feedback in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please also make sure to hit the subscribe button below this video or whatever it is on your desktop. And then thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.